Okay, so welcome back to Natalie's channel. I mentioned before that I wanted to do a couple more bike-related videos for everyone. Natalie and I have kind of come to the conclusion that there's not a ton of content out there like this for kids learning how to ride. And a lot of times if you go to Walmart, you go to any of these big box stores, you're gonna buy a single bike, a 12-inch bike with training wheels, and you're gonna get your kid right on it. I personally don't think that that's the right move. As you can see with the wall of bikes behind me, and that's only a portion of them. I'm a huge cyclist, so with the kids, it was very, very important to me to make sure that they learned the right way and learned quickly, not just for my own sake, but for their own sake. My son loves coming out and riding with me, and my daughter, as she got older, it became very important for her to join us as well. So this Strider bike here on your left was the Strider that, or the balance bike that my son learned on. My mother actually bought this when he was about 2, and it took him about 7 months or so to kind of get the hang of it. What do we say? Tell mommy, how do we say it?
Pedal and steer. Pedal and steer.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Steer and pedal. Steer. Look where you're going. Always look where you're going.
Pedal, steer and pedal. 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 Steer and pedal.
And then we got him on a pedal bike. He was completely self-sustainable at 3.5. And as my daughter started to watch him ride and watched him ride the Strider bike, she wanted to get on here. So we had her on this at about 1.5. And then by 25 months, she was on a pedal bike. So I will say this thing has served us really, really well, but it's $130. So if you look out in the market, Strider, the brand, is kind of the go-to in the balance bike market. But knowing kind of that not everybody's got $130 to throw at a small bike for their kid that doesn't have pedals, I kind of wondered what else was out there. And for the longest time, we were just happy that we had this, so we were all good to go, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But recently, I actually had a couple of balance bikes show up on Amazon, and I was kind of curious. So one of them was this bike that is over here on your right, and it is called, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this right, but it's spelled Kriddo. So I believe that's pronounced Kriddo. And I actually reached out to them and asked them to send us one so that I could compare the two. Because again, I just don't think that there's a ton of information out there on a lot of this stuff. Maybe there is, and you know, it's just from people who have experience with each of these. But being the fact that I've built bikes from scratch, plenty of them, that I figured it would be good to try and get my hands on one and just kind of see how the two of them compare. So I'm going to start from the front, and I'm going to work back and kind of highlight some of the similarities and the differences. So both of these bikes have non-pneumatic tires, so you do not have to pump them up, which I think is very important because with little kids, when you want to get them on the bike, you want to get them to do anything, the last thing you want to do is have to go and do maintenance to it. So you do not need to pump these up. On the Kriddo, it is a wider tire set. So I don't know what the actual measurements are, but it is noticeably wider on the Kriddo, which I do think is important just from a stability standpoint. It's not a must-have, but if I had to choose between the two, I would rather have a little bit wider tires. Coming up to where the handlebars are, so where they attach to the frame, both are adjustable up and down. On the Kriddo, the grips are a little bit beefier. It comes with a handbrake and a bell. On the Strider, I actually bought a bell and put it on here because it's just, again, it's another cool thing for the kids to entice them to ride. I also put a zip tie in the wheels to make it sound like a motorcycle, kind of like the olden days that we all used to do with BMX bikes. So anything to entice them, I think, is a benefit. And the Kriddo comes with this nameplate. So this is kind of like reminiscent of BMX days, where people would put numbers on here, and they actually sent some stickers with it as well that come standard in the box. So from the front end, the Kriddo offers some really nice key benefits. Just the fact that, one, that these grips are beefier, which really helps with the kids, because I've had my daughter kind of complains about the Strider bike grips. Actually, on her pedal bike, she complains about them as well. No complaints whatsoever with the Kriddo, and the handbrake is massively important, and I'll do a video about why, but the faster that you can get your kid used to a handbrake, the better. So as I flip these around, and I'm just going to kind of hold up the Strider, both bikes have adjustable seat heights, so, and I'm hoping that this is focusing, but they are quick releases, which makes it very, very easy. And I'll grab the Kriddo here so you can see the fact that it is also a quick release. So there's a quick release right here, so it makes it super easy to adjust this. In the prior video, you'll see the fact that I had both kids on here very quickly with just adjusting the height. On the Strider, they give you two seat posts. There's one that's a longer one and one that's a shorter one. On the Kriddo, you only get a single one. I really don't think that it's necessary to have two, unless your kid is on this when they're really, really old. So our son he only used the first seat post on the Strider. So I have it just sitting in a toolbox, and honestly, it's a pain. And I wish I kind of had just thrown it away, or I'd never gotten it. I guess for maybe a really, really tall kid, it might be important. On the Kriddo, it actually comes with a kickstand. So being a bike fanatic, the last thing I want to do is see the kids just trash these things, and every time they drop it on the ground, I kind of get upset. The fact that this has got a kickstand, it's going to preserve the paint a little bit longer, I think, just because they're not going to be just tossing them to the ground. And then I mentioned the handbrake. So this does have a rear brake. So it's underneath of, these are called the chain stays on a normal bike, but it's underneath of here. And this is massively, massively important. So they actually did work pretty well too. So kids can't get going too fast when they're just on these Strider bikes. So the handbrake for me is less about it being functional and more about them learning, because they're typically just going to use their feet to stop. But with the handbrake, they're going to get accustomed to the features. So when they move to a regular bike, it's not going to be quite as big of a deal. There is one major difference, I think, just structurally. On the back of the Strider, there is a spot to put your feet. So our son, whenever he got to the point where he could really balance well, he would get riding and put his feet up on here and just coast. The reason why the Kriddo, and I'm being kind of presumptuous here, but the reason why the Kriddo doesn't have that, I think, is because of the way that they chose to build the back. So the back actually comes apart here. There's a break in what would be the chainstay, and that's how they have kind of assembled the brakes as well. So I definitely don't hold that against this bike. It doesn't make it any lesser of an option. Honestly, it's because of the brake. So the question is, which one of these would I choose? I would choose the Kriddo option any day over the Strider, mainly for two reasons. One, the fact that it's got the handbrake, and the second one is the cost. So the Strider bike right now on Amazon is $130, and that is, I believe, exactly how you see it here on my bike stand. And the Kriddo is somewhere between 50 and 90, depending on the time of year that you're going to purchase it. I've seen it go up and down. So for the fact of the matter that, just for the general fact that your kids are going to be on this, hopefully for no more than about 1.5 to 2 years. Size-wise, they're both the same. They're both 12-inch bikes. They offer the exact same functionality, but the Kriddo offers those other features. So my choice and selection goes to the Kriddo, and they also have some really nice classy colors. So they've got your standard kind of bright colors, and then they make one that's really cool. It's a white with some brown features on it, like the seat's brown. I think the grips are brown as well. So in general, the kids love these things. They've been fantastic, and I'll do another video on kind of how we taught them how to ride, how to set them up, and then how we converted and transitioned over to pedal bikes as well. So stay tuned for that next video.